Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Those are turnovers in our mind. And really, really good coverage and rush together. Aggressive play by the front, good matching in the secondary. It's a good football team, and to be able to go, what was it?
4 for 5.
Able to be, 5 for 5 the way we look at it. Outstanding.
Does that influence the way you make some of the decisions, in particular the fourth and one push when you know that you have the defense playing pretty well?
The defense played awesome. I got a ton of confidence in my guys, in our guys to go out and execute. Obviously, I'm going to be second guessing myself about the fourth and one in our own territory there. But awesome job by the defense holding them to 3 there. We got about half of it the play before. I thought we could get the other half right there. We didn't. So I have to live with that. When we don't execute on 4th down, I again have a ton of confidence in our guys to be able to do so. If you don't have the confidence, I don't care what numbers say what, you don't go for it there. But I had a lot of confidence and it didn't work. So anytime it doesn't work in a 4th down situation, I'm always going to be hypercritical of myself because it's on me making that decision. And I'll go back and look at it. Hey, it didn't work. So obviously when I'm sitting here right now, I'm like, oh, I should have punted it there. If it works, you're able to either drain their timeouts there or take another 2 minutes off the clock. But in that case, it didn't work, and I gave him a short field right there, so that's 100% on me.
What do you think of Adoree Jackson's play and how he's approached that spot throughout the season?
Yeah, obviously, was it a 4th down or a 3rd down where we had the big stop, where he had the big 3rd down, and then they punted after that? Yeah, huge play there. Felt like he was sticky in coverage this evening. Obviously, I love when guys have the mental toughness to give up, when they give up a play to come back and continue to fight. That just speaks a lot of the character of the person and the character of the team. So to be able to, obviously Jameson Williams is a phenomenal football player, explosive. They got a lot of good players over there, and he makes that play and then goes for a touchdown. And then I felt like Adoree really had a good game, after that, to be able to put it in the past and execute when we needed him the most.
The defensive front as a whole, Jalen Phillips, your second game with him, seems like everything is kind of clicked together. Jordan Davis with the batted balls, the pass rush as a whole. Just that group, did that set the tone for this game?
I think so. We were able to get some early pressure on him and get some hits on him. Those are always going to affect quarterbacks, so we did a really good job there as a defensive front. I think that's 2 games, actually 3 games in a row where it's been humming up front. We like to play that way, right? Being led by our offense and defensive line. Excuse me. Those bat downs were really, really impressive, but not surprising to us because that's what practice looked like and has been looking like. And so practice is a great indicator of what the game's going to look like. And our defense in practice, the energy, speaking of the bat downs, the crushing of blocks, we just did a really nice job there tonight.
From an offensive perspective, how kind of demoralizing can it be when balls get batted down like that?
Yeah. Very, very, because you could have the right play called, everything could go right, and then it gets knocked down before you get into the execution of it. So I think that's a really good observation, Dave, and it's a little demoralizing when that happens because everything can go right, and the guy gets his hands, doesn't get free on a rush, but times it up, and knocks it down. Being in obviously before I came here, being in the AFC South with J.J. Watt, that was always, man, he'd had a knack for that. He had a knack for that, and it was always demoralizing when he got it. And I remember him always doing this when he would get it, and just I had a ton of respect for him. And it always was like, man, we had a play there, and it didn't happen. The play stopped before it even got going. So it can be super demoralizing, but awesome job by our guys. Clint hurt. man, he's a great coach, helping those guys be able to do that, and then all the credit goes to those guys that are able to get their hands on those. I think we look at PBUs sometimes, and we put that in the stat. Q had a couple nice ones tonight. Adori had the nice one, but when those defensive men are able to get it, it's pretty cool.
That was the only team on their schedule that voted not to ban the tush push.
Respect.
And they stopped. Yeah, I was just going to ask if you give respect for them for not voting to ban them.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, they did a good job tonight. Obviously, they had a good plan. They went and tried to find a way to stop it, and they did a good job stopping it tonight. Now we had a couple that were good, the one in the red zone, but they did a good job on that tonight. So respect to them and credit to them on that.
Nick, to kind of follow up on that, you guys have said for years now you want to be aggressive in those situations in 4th and short, and obviously you have the tush push. When does that philosophy run into context where lane's not in the game? It hasn't been automatic tonight, and how does that factor into your decision? Just generally speaking.
Always. You always think about those things. Again, if we would have got pushed back, I'm assuming you're speaking of the 4th down one that we didn't get. If we would have got pushed back there and not moved the ball forward, because it was a full one, I felt like we moved it to about half a one, and then just didn't get enough on that next one. Again, you got to give them a lot of credit right there. But I do have utmost, you think about how it plays in game, but you also think about your past experiences. Everything's taken into account. But you definitely, you definitely think about how it's playing in game. I felt like it just wasn't, we had the one false start, and so you had the one in the red zone. We had the false start early, what they called, and then we had the one in the red zone that we got great push, and then we got about half of it on the 4th down one, and then we just weren't successful on the other one. Again, anytime we don't get a 4th down conversion, I'm always going to put that on myself. I'm always going to be hypercritical of myself, and obviously, had I known we wouldn't get it, I would have punted it. But obviously, the game's not played that way, and have a ton of confidence in it. But we'll go back and see what happened and why it happened.
Did you get an explanation on why it was a false start on Tyler C instead of neutral zone?
Yeah, when I thought that the guy got himself into the neutral zone off of a hard count, and I guess he was lined up there initially. Which would have ended up being a penalty had we snapped it, but we reacted there. You know what? In that scenario, and we ended up having to punt on 4th and 6. In that scenario, I'm not sure I prepared Tyler the best I could possibly prepare him for. Again, I thought that he jumped in there, but he was apparently lined up in there. And if he's lined up in there, and then you reach out and touch him, which we anytime there's a false start or an offsides, we teach our guys to reach out and touch. We had one last week, if you remember, but he didn't get into the neutral zone, and we ended up getting a penalty on it. We're hyper aggressive with that to try to get the free 5 yards, but I didn't realize, again, I don't think I prepared Tyler well enough, or Tyler may not have seen him in the neutral zone to begin with, because I don't ever recall going over that rule with him that if he's in the neutral zone and then you react, then that's a false start on us. So I don't think I did a good enough job preparing him in that scenario.
What are
you seeing offensively? It seems like you guys are able to gut out wins, but where do you think the offense is at this point?
Yeah, obviously we want to be better than what we were tonight, but every game's played a little bit different. Like the way the game is played sometimes is dictated of what's happening in the game, right? Make no mistake about it, our goal in every single game is to come out with a win, period. Right. And so sometimes the game's played a little bit differently in that. And we're able to get a 10-point lead. And so every game is played to win. But do we have to clean up things on offense? Of course we do. We're gonna have to clean up as good as the defense played. We're gonna have to clean up things on defense. As good as the special teams played, we're gonna have to clean up things on special teams. But we have to be on offense. There's some shooting ourselves in the foot that's happening, and some of those things are things that we always talk about takes no talent, right? And when we have such good talent that we have to be able to master the things that take no talent so our talent can shine.
Nick, AJ Brown, you described them as gritty, ugly, whatever word you want to use. Is it a style you like, and is the style that best fits this team?
Say that one more time, Zach. I'm sorry.
Over the years, you've described these types of wins as, gritty, ugly sometimes. Is it a style that you like? And is it the style that best fits the win?
I'd like to win every game by 30 points. I don't think that's a reality of the NFL. I think we take a lot of pride in, just winning. Period. That's all this thing's about, right? I've been on the other side where you lose, and you're sick about it, right? That doesn't mean, again, that you don't go to work like a madman the next day and try to fix everything that made it not a big, whatever, a 2-score win or a 3-score win. But we take pride. I think the answer really, Zach, is we take pride in winning. I think our guys have this knack of knowing. I think as I watch football today, I feel like I saw a lot of teams waiting to lose. Our team's waiting to win because they know how to win. And there's something to be said for that, of knowing how to win and knowing how to figure out ways to win. Do we want things to be better? Yeah, of course. You're in a constant quest of getting better. And we're going to be, like I said, crazy tomorrow about the things that we're working tomorrow. And I don't care what time the game got over or whatever it is. We're working tomorrow to get better. And that will be our mission. But it is, you sense it in those moments, and from the coaches and from the players and from myself, we know how to win, and we're going to figure out a way to win the game.
AJ Brown had.
On those last two defensive.
I get to you.
On those last two defensive drives, Jacoby had obviously the sack on the blitz, and then the two plays where he mirrored Jahmyr Gibbs and Jamison Williams. He held up pretty well. What do those moments say about Jacoby?
Yeah, he's a ball player. That's what I remember. Just watching guys play when I was a young kid, watching Southwestern Trojans play football, and I can't tell you how many times I've heard my dad or someone say, "He's just a good football player." He's just a good football player. I mean, I think of a lot of guys. One guy that keeps coming to my mind right now as I'm talking is Pete Conley. Just a good football player. Jacoby's just a good football player. He prepares his ass off. You can see how much the guys love him out on that field. And we got 3 really good linebackers. And really, I love our entire linebacker group. But just a good football player, because I can't tell you how much respect. I mean, you saw Gibbs out there today. That guy is an explosive playmaker. He is he's electric. He's one of the best backs in the NFL. I'll take Saquon over anybody, but I'm not sure that there's anybody else above him of what I saw in person there today. Because I don't think in 22 he wasn't there. I think 23 was his first year. Yeah, he's electric. He's electric. I got a lot of respect for him.
AJ had 11 targets tonight. Was that just how the game kind of expressed itself, or was it something you guys did to get him more involved?
We're always trying to get AJ involved. Always. And the game is played differently each and every week of what happens. So I don't think I've been shy about saying this. The game plan's always going to start in the passing game with him and Devontae and Dallas. And so we're always trying to do that and get him the football. And that's the way game played out a little bit today.
I think it comes from the band and the familiarity within the building. And I always, you've heard me talk a lot about those Georgia guys on the other side of the ball and how familiar they are with one another. And I think they bring a special energy to the defense and to the team. And you see it out there today, all those guys making plays, defense playing lights out. One of the best performances I've ever seen. So, really, really big time game on that side of the ball. To be able to do what they did on 4th down against a really good offense, a potent offense that's capable of doing really, really special things. And I have a lot of respect for that.
Is that part of Nick's messaging? Focusing on the turnover, winning the turnover battle, and not trying to do too much outside, your job. Is that messaging relayed in winning these types of games, these gritty games?
That's always a philosophical staple in what he believes. It's always been that. It's been that over the years, and we've lost some games when we've lost the turnover battle. Some games have been closer than what they've needed to be because of that. But usually, you look at that as one of the key factors, and it's held true.
Hutchinson said this week that he had this game. The Lions had this game circled on their calendar for a while. Last week, a couple of the Packers said, jokingly, they need to get their lick back. Do you feel like teams are giving you their best shot just because of what you guys have accomplished?
Absolutely. And what more do you expect? That's exactly how it's going to be. It's when you accomplish the things that you've accomplished, everybody wants to take your place, and we just got to continue to improve so we can maintain where we are.
AJ had 11 targets tonight. Was there more of a conscious effort maybe to get him involved early and keep trying to feed him the football?
Yeah, just going with the flow of the game and how it was called and trying to go out there and execute.
There wasn't effort to get him the football.
That may be a KP question.
With all the passes defended by the defense on the line, just from a quarterback's perspective, how does that disrupt an offense and how demoralizing can that be personally?
Say that again?
With all the passes defended by Jordan Davis, Jalen Carter, just from a quarterback's perspective, how disruptive can that be?
Very disruptive, and it's something that you see them do often in practice. They're very skillful. They kind of got a knack for when the rushes kind of come to a halt and being able to jump up and time it up and make a play on the ball. So I wouldn't be surprised if Jalen Carter catches one of them here soon.
You talked about, the defense trying to have a knack of finding a way to win. You've kind of done that yourself with this offense during your time. Do you think that they pull that energy from you as well?
That's not something that I could take ownership for. I just try and, lead with an example and bring a certain level of energy to it. But it's just a mentality thing, and I think you have to have a level of grittiness to see things through and figure things out. And, in a game like tonight, they played lights out and they held things down. So we just got to continue to improve so we can elevate the level of complementary football we play. When I look at 5 stops on 4th down, as an offense, we've got to be able to capitalize on some of those, on all of those opportunities in short fields and when the defense is playing like that. So that's an area of growth for us.
Jalen, they were really good defending the tush push tonight. Not perfect, obviously, but they had a little more success on it than most of your guys' opponents had. Are you guys finding generally more difficult to run the play, or were they doing something tonight that made it a little more challenging?
Nah, I have to watch the film and really be able to answer that question. But I got to get a good push off the ball and got to drive a bit. And they're honing in on it. Very, very, very strict on the guard and the center and how they operate, and they got their eyes on it. So we just got to be as clean as possible and then go out there and find ways to convert it.
What are your main takeaways from the offensive performance tonight?
My main takeaways is we got to score points. We got to be more efficient. We got to take advantage of opportunities when they're there. And we got to control the things that we can control. It's the same MO it's been this whole entire time.
Jalen,
How much do you feel like the last 2 weeks struggles on offense have been about the defense you've been facing, and how much have been about you guys yourselves?
Always going to give a lot of respect to the opponent we play. It's always going to come down to us and what we do. And so we have to do a bit of identifying of who we are so we can find consistency in something and go out there and execute at a high level. I think there's a lot of encouragement coming into the bye week on where we were, still with a ton of room to improve. But you know what I feel about momentum. It can begin and end at any moment. But as I told you guys last week, is it half full or half empty? And everybody's got to be all hands on deck and trying to improve that. Nothing takes over the precedent of winning. That's what it's all about. And with winning in mind and with winning being the number one thing, that doesn't dismiss that, we got some work to do, and we need to improve. So it's a collective. Takes everybody being on the same page, takes everybody being truly committed to winning and winning itself and not being any buts behind it.
Take two more.
Playoff caliber opponents, playoff type atmospheres. Did you read into that when you were able to win in these settings?
Absolutely. Not necessarily reading into it, but it's something that you feel. It's something you sense from as a team that you're being tested on these things. And so, how we went out there and found a way to win. A lot of those games are like that. And I think the most important thing is just staying together throughout the journey of it.
Last one.
Jalen, your team is 6-1, I think, against playoff teams from last year. To be 8-2 at this point, given the strength of the schedule, what does that mean to you? And
talking about like the level of competition we played.
I mean, you played 7 teams that were in the playoffs last year, and you're 6-1 against them. I mean, does it inspire more confidence in what this team is doing, or what does it mean to be 8-2, given that schedule?
I think it could, being considering that you face some really good opponents and you know what they're capable of on that side of the ball. I think in the end it's always gonna come down to what do you do, and holding yourself to a standard and looking yourself in the mirror on those things. So it all starts internal. And that's every individual themselves, and then that's as a team collectively. So I don't want to make it too much about the opponent. We just have to look in and grow ourselves.